Hi guys! For today's topic, we're going to have the measures of central tendency for grouped data. So how do we compute for the mean, median, and mode if the data is grouped? Okay, so let's have here, I know that you're familiar with this table, the frequency distribution table, and you're already familiar with the first 5 columns. So ang hindi na lang kayo familiar is this new column or the fx column. So, dito sa fx column, we're just going to focus on the frequency column and the class mark column. And to compute for the fx of each class, you're just going to multiply the frequency and class mark of each class. And by doing so, we're going to have 7 multiplied to 7 for the first class kasi yun yung frequency and class mark niya, so that the value of fx of the first class will be equal to 49. Then for the second class, we're going to have 10 times 12, which is equal to 120, 13 times 17, which is equal to 221, 18 times 22, which is equal to 396, 8 times 27, which is equal to 216, 5 times 32, which is equal to 160, and 3 times 37, which is equal to 111. So remember, fx column, we're just going to multiply the frequency and class mark of each class. And after identifying the fx of each class, we're going to find the sum of the fx column or the summation of fx. So if you're going to add all these numbers, you're going to get 1,273. And as we completed the table, we can now compute for the mean, median, and mode of this given grouped data. We have here the formula for mean. So we have mu sub g, so yan yung symbol natin for mean, is equal to the summation of fx divided by n, where n is the total frequency and fx is the product of the frequency and the midpoint or class mark of each class. So, balik tayo sa table natin. The value of the summation of fx is 1,273 and the value of the total of frequency or n is equal to 64. So, we're going to substitute these values sa formula natin for mean. And by doing so, we're going to have 1,273 divided by 64. And when you divide it, you're going to get 19.89. So again, lagi tayong round off to the nearest hundreds. Okay, next. We have the formula here for median. And before we proceed with that, we have to follow a series of steps. So, first step sa pag-compute ng median is to compute first for n over 2. Second step is to locate the median class. Median class, starting from the top, locate the median class with less than CF greater than or equal to n over 2 for the first time. And then third step, compute for the median using the given formula. So we have here the formula for median. MD sub G is equal to LCB sub MD, which is the lower class boundary of the median class, plus C, which is class size, and then multiplied to n over 2. So, yung n natin dito is yung total ng frequency minus less than CF sub B, or the less than cumulative frequency immediately before the median class, and then all over FMD, or the frequency of the median class. So, we'll explain this whole process on the next slide. Okay. First step is to compute for n over 2. So, the value of n is 64. So, 64 divided by 2 is 32. Second step, we will locate the median class at the less than CF column using the first step. So, sa first step natin, ang nakuha natin ay 32. So, we will use this or locate this dito sa less than CF column for us to know the median class. Okay? Ito yung less than CF column natin. And we are to find 32. So, kung hindi present yung 32, we're going to get the first higher less than cumulative frequency. So, that will be 48. So, yung 48 na yon, yung kalinya nun or yung class na yon, yung magiging median class natin. And dito tayo kukuha ng values to be substituted sa formula natin. Okay. The formula for median class. So, unahin natin yung the lower class boundary of the median class. So, that is 19.5. So, substitute natin siya. Ayan. And then, next natin na isa-substitute is yung C or yung class size. So, since given na dito yung class intervals natin, so, just get two consecutive lower limits from the class intervals and find its difference. So, in this case, we have 5 and 10. So, find its difference. So, 10 minus 5 is equal to 5. So, 5 is the class size. So, eto na. Sinubstitute na natin. And then, next natin i-substitute is n over 2. So, as you can remember, n over 2, we already got this sa first step natin. So, ayan, recall natin. N over 2 is 64 over 2, which is equal to 32. So, yung value natin dito for n over 2 is 32, and then minus the less than CF before the median class. Okay, so kung ito yung median class natin, the less than CF and the less than CF column, so the less than CF before the median class is 30. So, yun yung isa-substitute natin. And then, all over the frequency of the median class. So, ito yung median class natin. Let's take a look at the frequency column. So, its frequency is equal to 80. So, substitute natin yung FMD natin, which is 18. And then, let us compute for the median class. So, like what we always do, let's simplify first the number inside the parentheses. So, we're going to have 32 minus 30, which is equal to 2 over 18. And then, multiplying it by 5 and adding 19.5, you're going to get 20.05555 and so on. So, again, we always round off to the nearest hundredth. So, that's why we will get 20.06 as the value of the median of the given grouped data. And lastly, we have here the formula for the mode. So, we have to follow these steps. So, first step to get the mode is to locate the modal class. So, modal class is the class with the highest frequency. And then, second step is to compute the mode using the formula. So, the formula for mode, so we have MO sub G is equal to the LCB sub MO or the lower class boundary of the modal class plus C or class size multiplied to FMO or the frequency of the modal class minus FB or the frequency immediately before the modal class all over 2 times the frequency of the modal class minus the frequency immediately before the modal class and minus FA, which is the frequency immediately after the modal class. So, let's explain this formula on the next slide. Okay, so we are to locate first the modal class. Again, modal class, it is the class with the highest frequency. So, tingin tayo dito sa frequency column natin. And what is the highest frequency in here? It is 18. And yung class na yon, yung katapat ng 18 na yon, will be the modal class. Okay. Since we already identified the modal class, so we can now substitute the values dito sa formula. So let's first find what is the lower class boundary of the modal class. So that is equal to 19.5 and then C, class size. So again, given the group data, to determine the class size, just get 2 consecutive lower limits and then find its difference. So we have here 10 minus 5, which is equal to 5. And then, let us substitute the frequency of the modal class. So, ito yung modal class natin. Its frequency is equal to 18. So, substitute na natin yung 18 dito sa numerator and denominator natin. And then, we also have the frequency before the modal class or yung f sub bin natin. Frequency before the modal class, kung ito yung modal class natin, its frequency before is equal to 13. So, let's substitute it both in the numerator and denominator again. And lastly, we have the frequency immediately after the modal class or yung FA natin. So, kung ito yung modal class natin, its frequency after is 8. So, substituting 8, by substituting 8, so, we're going to have 19.5 plus 5 multiplied to 18 minus 13 all over 2 times 18 minus 13 minus 8. So, simplify ulit natin yung numbers inside the parentheses. So, we're going to have 5, 18 minus 13, 5, and then 2 times 18, 36 minus 13 minus 8. And then by simplifying it again, we're going to get 5 over 15. Multiplying it by 5 and adding 19.5, we're going to get 21.16666 and so on. So again, round off to the nearest hundred. So we're going to get 21.17 as the value of mode of the given grouped data. Okay, so I want you to try this example and complete the table first before you solve for the mean, median, and mode. And the answers are to be revealed on our next synchronous meeting. Thank you guys for listening, and we hope that you learned.